Good day to everyone joining us and welcome to today's X Talks webinar. Today's talk is entitled Digitalized Temperature Monitoring Solution for Clinical Trials. My name is Sonia Hunt and it's my pleasure to be your X Talks moderator for today. Today's webinar will run for approximately 60 minutes. This presentation includes a Q&A session with our speaker. This webinar is designed to be interactive, and webinars work best when you're involved. So please feel free to submit questions and comments for our speaker throughout the presentation using the questions chat box, and we'll try to attend to your questions during the Q&A session. This chat box is located in the control panel, and that's found on the right-hand side of your screen. If you require assistance, please contact me at any time by sending me a message using that chat panel. At this time, all participants are in listen-only mode. Please note that this event will be recorded and made available to you for future streaming on xtalks.com. At this point, I'd like to thank the Berlinger who developed the content for this presentation. The Swiss company Berlinger & Company AG develops, produces, and distributes innovative temperature monitoring solutions for pharmaceutical and medical technology products with the aim to further improve efficiency and increase patient safety. Since its inauguration in 1865, Berlinger is a family business which allows us or them to think far beyond quarterly results. They are fully committed to long-term customer success as they think in generations. Innovation and quality are key for them to deliver customer service. They invest a considerable portion into R&D to stay innovative, as they did the last 155 years, and are truly international, proudly partnering with leading pharmaceutical companies as key healthcare organizations such as WHO or UNICEF in over 170 companies. Or countries, I should say. That's over 170 countries. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce your speaker for today's event, and that's Harold Van Warren, the Segment Manager Clinical Trials at Berlinger at Berlinger & Company. Harold Van Warren is Segment Manager Clinical Trials at Berlinger. He has over 10 years of experience in product management and market segment management, bringing value to customers with high-tech innovative solutions. Harold has a PhD in physics from the University of Twente in Netherlands. And now I will pass over the controls to our speaker, Harold Van Warren. Harold, when you're ready, you may begin.
I am ready. Thank you.
You are ready.
I am ready. Thank you so much, Sonia. So, welcome everybody, also from my side. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending where you are on this planet. So today I'll be talking about digitalized temperature monitoring solutions for clinical trials. And obviously the ultimate question that is out there is, when you have a drug kit on site, the ultimate question is really, is that drug kit still stable? Yes or no, from a temperature point of view. It's an easy question to ask, but it's a very difficult question to answer, simply because you're dealing with different legs in the clinical supply chain. You're dealing with different temperature monitoring devices. You're dealing with repackaging of your drug kits in the different legs. And it's an extremely difficult puzzle to solve. And what we aim with this solution is to make that puzzle for you. So I saw in the results from the registration questions, I saw that most of you have indeed already temperature loggers, which makes sense, of course, with manual upload and with software analytics. This solution really aims to bring that a step further and really bring an end-to-end solution, knowing really at the clinical site whether your drug kit is stable, yes or no. Key for this webinar and for this solution is that Berlinger is very good in doing temperature monitoring solutions. This is our core competence. In order to make the solution work, we work with some key partners, some key IRT partners that are also very important in the clinical trial, and together we work to make the solution work indeed. So before getting to the details. A few more words about Berlinger, and I know Sonia already mentioned a few things, but really what I want to talk about is the fact that we are indeed a family-owned business, and we have been around for over 150 years. And indeed also innovation is key to us, and this is really our next step. Temperature monitoring is something that we do for over 30 years now, and as said, this is our core competence. We stick to that, and to make a complete solution work, we work together with partners. We will not dilute our core competence with other type of solutions. We work together with key partners. Yeah, I mention that again simply because it's so key for this solution, and I will come back to that later on during the webinar as well. Now, coming to my first poll question. I have mentioned a few pains when it comes to temperature monitoring of your drug kits during the clinical trial. But I would like to hear something from you as well. So what is your main concern when it comes to temperature monitoring of drug kits used in your clinical trials? Sonia, can I hand back over to you for the poll questions?
Yes, and thank you very much, Harold. And here I have the poll question I just launched, and you see the question is there before you. What is your main concern regarding temperature monitoring of drug kits used in your clinical trial? So I've launched the poll question. Harold, I'm going to give our audience about 35 seconds to pick one of the below, and they have 1, 2, 3, 4 options to pick. Did you want to just tell them what they are?
Yep, indeed. So the first option is it the manual actions that are involved with possibly missing data? Is it time-consuming decision-making to make that puzzle? Is it patient safety, or is it process efficiency and cost?
Okay, well, let's find out. We'll give another 5 seconds. Audience members, this is done in real time, so I will be able to share the results with you as soon as I close the poll. So your participation is greatly appreciated, as it will help us have a fully good understanding of what our members are thinking about this poll question. Okay, so it looks like we have the majority of everyone has voted. So thank you everyone for that. I'm now going to close the polls and share the results. So Harold, what do you think about the results?
I cannot see the results yet.
Oh, well, let me tell you the results. So the results that we have is that 53% said manual actions, missing data, 53%. We have 3% that said time-consuming decision-making.
Okay.
We have 28% that said patient safety, and then 16% said process efficiency and cost. So what do you think about that?
That's a very interesting one. I think it's really gearing towards the manual actions and missing data. I think that this is indeed one of the key factors that we try to solve with these solutions. But for sure, also the other aspects like time-consuming decision-making and process efficiency and cost are also very much key factors that we are trying to solve, along, of course, with patient safety as well. Yeah. So thank you for the answers. It's really interesting. Thank you so much. So let's continue. Basically, this whole manually driven temperature monitoring in clinical trial is really time and cost intensive, and I think you all agree with me, given the answers of the poll question. Let's dive in a little bit more detail on this, let's say, pain. So we are dealing with manual paper processing to document temperature conditions. Yeah, so this is painstaking. It's very much error prone. If we talk to customers, a lot of the pain, a big part of the pain is that in many cases, excursions are not entered in the IRT. Here it comes back. The IRT is also very key in this whole solution, also leading to missing data. Then temperature tracking is also based on site preferences. So what we're dealing with here is that temperature tracking is being done by different loggers, maybe with different vendors. Maybe temperature is not monitored at all. Yeah, sometimes it's just the fridge temperature that's being indicated. So that also leads to inconsistent data and also to missing data. So where does it lead to? First and foremost, it's really limited transparency. Yeah. The drug hit that you have on site, is that really stable, yes or no? Yeah. You don't actually know that with all these manual actions. Obviously, a lot of manual paperwork if you want to dive into the details. So it's really a painstaking process. No immediate centralized visibility. Again, very much time consuming and slow decision making. And time consuming data consolidation for audits. I remember from the poll questions that you were just answering, it was only about 3%. The thing though is that and when we talk to a number of customers, we have quite a few of these stories where there is short notice audits. And all of a sudden there's this question lying around. So did you have any excursions during your clinical trials for a particular drug hit or maybe more drug hits? So then all of a sudden this puzzle needs to be made. Yeah, and then we've heard stories about that 4 or 5 people need to work for a week to dig up all that data. Yeah. And this is one of the pains that we try to solve here. The next point, and I hinted already to that, is wastage of drugs. Do you know the true stability of your drug hit at site? If you're not quite sure, quite often the drug is just thrown away. And it could be that the drug was in fact still okay. So there's a lot of wastage of drugs as well. And also patient rescheduling or losing a patient for your clinical trial. There is also a whole industry behind emergency clinical trials. And this is also very cost intensive. Now, I've been talking a lot about cost, and really depending on the size of your clinical trial, we have a number of cases where you can really save up to 7-digit figures. So that's kind of your bottom line, but the top line also can be benefited when you have kind of an integrated solution. So you don't have to make that manual data evaluation, which can take up to 25 days. It's turned into an instant decision-making process. So you turn, or you win basically a month, and a month longer marketing of your product can increase your revenue as well. So it's both at the top line as well as the bottom line. It gives benefits when it comes to monetary benefits. But we can talk monetary endlessly, of course, but ultimately it's also patient safety that's really at stake here. And really this fast decision making also helps patient safety as well. Now, leading into question number 2. What is in your company the percentage of phase 2 and phase 3 clinical trials that use an IRT? And I come back to this again. The IRT, even though we at Berlinger, we do the temperature part of things, we work extensively with a number of these IRT partners. So my question to you is, for your phase 2 and phase 3 clinical trials, what is the percentage that use an IRT? Is that between 0 and 25% or all the way to 75 and 100%? Sonia, can I hand back over to you for the poll questions?
Certainly, Harold. I've already launched it. Our audience members are seeing it now right in front of them on their screen. We'll give about 35 seconds for them to select one of the below, between 0 to 25%, between 25 and 50%, between 50% and 75%, or between 75% and 100%. And the question is, what is your company, the percentage of phase 2 and phase 3 clinical trials that use an IRT? Looks like we have the majority of our audience members have casted their votes, so thank you very much. Remember, this is done in real time, and I'll be able to share the results with you momentarily. So Harold, 5 more seconds, and then I will close the polls.
That's perfectly fine. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I'm going to close the polls and share the results. Okay, so here are the results from the second poll question. We have 4% between 0% and 25%. 26% of our members are between 25% and 50%, 22% between 50% and 75%, and 48% between 75% and 100%.
Okay, that's really good. It's a really good result. So indeed, most of you use an IRT for your phase 2 and phase 3 clinical trial, and I understand it's very much dependent on the size of your clinical trial. But indeed, key for this solution to work is that we work together with these IRTs. And so now I'm going to dive into how it works, how this whole solution works. So we have talked a lot about the benefits, about the pains that we are going to solve with this solution. Now I'm going to show you how it really works. And remember, it is meant to make your life easier, but I will go in detail through the whole process. So there are quite some process steps, but remember, a lot of these things will be done automatically as well. So key here is again that the IRT that we work with remains your front face. The IRT is being supplied with additional information through Berlinger SmartView. So SmartView does all the temperature analytics, and it's feeding the IRT with additional information. So this is, let's say, the flow, how it looks like. So still central is the IRT system, and still the IRT system that you might have been using for the last decade, still the same system. But in addition to what an IRT system already does, it associates the data logger, so the temperature logger, to a drug kit number. And this is really key. So for every single drug kit number, we track the temperature profile. So suppose you have, let's say, 1,000 drug kit numbers in your clinical trial, or maybe 100,000, or maybe 1,000,000. For every single drug kit number, we will track the temperature profile. But key is that the data loggers are associated with a drug kit number, and that's done by the IRT system. On the other hand, there is Berlinger SmartView. SmartView does the temperature analyses. So during your shipment, you have a temperature profile. During your when the temperature is when the drug kit is at a facility, it has a certain temperature profile, and it's being stitched together by SmartView. It does its analysis, compares it against the product stability data that is given by the sponsor, and the IRT system and Berlinger SmartView then shares that information with each other. And key there is the fact that there is an API in between. And API is not an active pharmaceutical ingredient in this case. It is an application programming interface. It's an interface between two software systems, and over that line, data is being shared. Now, suppose we start a clinical trial, and the QP person says, "Hey, the drug kit is being released." Shipment details are then being sent to the depot. The depot will then send the drug kit to the site, along with a shipment logger or a shipment device. And during that time, during the shipment, the temperature profile is being monitored. When the drug kit arrives at the site and is being checked by, let's say, the pharmacist, the drug kit is then being registered as being received at the site. So that's being sent to the IRT system. With this registration, the temperature profile is also being sent to the IRT system and being forwarded to Berlinger SmartView. Berlinger SmartView does its magic, does its analysis, and when there is a breach in the stability, and there's stability data violation, a notification being sent back to the IRT system. And obviously the sponsor or the QA person of the sponsor is curious about whether the temperature stability has been breached, yes or no. That person only needs to look in the IRT system to look whether stability has been breached, yes or no. Or there's also an automatic alert to him from the IRT system. What is being communicated to the QA person looking into the IRT system is basically a conclusion of the analysis that SmartView has done and sent on to the IRT system. But if a QA person wants to look in detail to where things went wrong, he can still look into SmartView and do a detailed assessment. So for this webinar, I will not go into the details of the IRT system, how it will look like. Again, we work with a number of IRT suppliers. I will focus here on what is being done temperature profile wise, yeah, and temperature analysis wise. So, and before I go into that, something else I need to show you is the fact that on the site, the temperature profile is being sent directly into SmartView on a real-time basis as well. So this is how it looks in SmartView. You see here different legs of your clinical supply monitored by different devices or different loggers, be it facility loggers or be it shipment loggers, that is being stitched together by SmartView, and that's basically the puzzle that's being stitched together. So you see a cumulative view from beginning to the end of what the temperature profile has been during the transit from, let's say, the depot to the site. Now, let's take it another step. What is the detailed workflow for your drug kits? Yeah. So suppose you start up a clinical trial. What are the steps that you take for this solution to work? And how does it work? Well, this is the first step. First, for every clinical trial, you need to set up your IRT. That's normal procedure, and I'm sure you all recognize that. The storage conditions need to be defined. So when it comes to temperature monitoring, storage conditions need to be defined. The product stability needs to be defined. That's information that comes from the sponsor. Locations, so depots needs to be defined, and the sites need to be defined, as well as the sectors. So sectors could be, let's say, a particular fridge at a clinical site. And obviously, the devices need to be associated to the sectors. And we also need to create the products. That's from the IRT setup part. Again, it's quite normal procedure. It's something that you also do with the temperature monitoring setup. But key here is that for SmartView, for every single clinical trial, we set up a separate domain for a specific clinical trial. Obviously, you're dealing with data safety. You're dealing with blinded tests. So that's the reason why for every clinical trial, we set up a separate domain. That is very key. And for every clinical trial, we can also create specific roles with specific access rules for every single person in your clinical trial. Now, let's start with the first. Let's start with the first step in this whole process, after the initialization, of course. And we start with the depot monitoring. So the first thing that needs to be done is create the drug kit. So the QP person says, okay, the site is ready, we are ready, the drug kit is being released. So that's being notified in the IRT. There is a notification of storage at the depot, and from that point on, in the IRT, the storage device or the storage logger is being associated to the drug kit. And within Berlinger SmartView, the stability data is then calculated from that point onwards. I remember that for every single drug kit, for every single drug kit number, we track the temperature profile. Yeah. So whether it's 1,000, whether it's 100,000, whether it's million, for every single one of them, we track the temperature profile in order to show at the site what the true stability is of that drucket number. Then we start to ship from the depot to the site. So we create the shipment, and at the depot, the shipment is being packed and prepared. And from that point on, the shipment device is being switched on. So from that point on, the temperature is being logged of that particular drucket. And obviously in the IRT, the drucket has to be associated to the shipment logger. So this particular views here of SmartView, you can see per drucket where things are, and you can see the temperature profile. Then at step 4, you see and the shipment arrives at the site. At the site, the shipment logger is being stopped. The data is being sent to the cloud and to the IRT and being forwarded to SmartView. At that point, the IRT stops associating the drucket to the shipment logger simply because they part ways. Berlinger SmartView already starts to process the data file, and obviously the drucket is then being transferred to the fridge, and then the drucket is being associated to a storage logger, or a facility logger. That's how we call it. And then for step number 5, and that's the last step, this is where the real calculation has happened. So at this point, SmartView knows the full tracking, the full temperature profile from beginning to the end, and see to what extent the temperature stability has been, or stability budget has been consumed, yes or no. If there is a breach, it pushes this breach notification to the IRT. Then it's up to the QA person to decide whether the drucket is still usable. Then you can remove it from quarantine or completely destroy it. And then update the drucket state in the IRT system. When the drucket is still okay, then obviously nothing is going on, or nothing serious is happening. Then the drucket can still be distributed to the patient. This is key. There were quite some process steps, but in fact at this point the QA person or anyone who wants to see it can immediately decide whether a drucket is still usable, yes or no. He doesn't have to make that puzzle. That along these various slides, along these various steps in the process, the puzzle is being made for you by SmartView in combination with the IRT system. And this is really key. So again, for every single drucket number, you know what the true stability is. As I said previously, when the QA person wants to go in detail, and say and see where things went wrong, the person can go into SmartView, so out of the IRT into SmartView and go into detail. Click on the drucket number that has, let's say, a red icon there, and something is going on, looks into detail and sees this picture. We have shown this before, and you see per lag in your clinical trial, or in your clinical supply, where things, where what happened and where things might have gone wrong. In this overview, you can also download a report per drucket, do shipment analytics. You can do root cause registration as well as your audit trails. Remember the example that I mentioned before, when you have short notice audit trails, you don't need to assign 4 people that dig up data. It's basically a push of a button, and then you know immediately for every single drucket what has happened during, let's say, the shipment from the depot to the site. Now, to sum everything up, the bottom line basically is that for every single drucket, the temperature profile is being tracked throughout your clinical chain, from really the first shipment until the last fridge. It's being controlled against your product stability data as well, and to see to what extent the stability budget has been consumed, yes or no. So this is really key. Now, in the beginning, I mentioned a few cost factors. Yeah, so many of these cost factors or many aspects influence the cost of or the savings that you can have. But one of the key ones is the number of shipments that you carry out during a phase 2 or phase 3 clinical trial. And that comes to poll question number 3. How many shipments do you carry out during a phase 2 or phase 3 clinical trial? A, is that less than 100? B, is that between 100 and 500? C, is that between 500 and 2,000? Or D, is that more than 2,000? So Sonia, can I hand back over to you for the poll questions?
Not a problem, and I have already done so, Harold. I launched the poll question. Now our audience members are looking at the question right now. And I'll just repeat what you just said. How many shipments do you carry out during a phase 2 or phase 3 clinical trial? And the options are below. Harold, do you want to mention the options again?
Please, yes. So A is less than 100, B is between 100 and 500, and C is between 500 and 2,000, and D is more than 2,000.
Okay, perfect. So I'll give our audience members another 10 seconds to cast their votes, as they know this is done in real time, and we'll share the results with them momentarily. Okay, and it looks like we have a majority of everyone has voted, so thank you very much for everyone for participating. Now I'm going to close the polls and share the results. Okay, and here's the results of that poll, and the results is this. 33% said less than 100, 6% between 100 and 500, 44% between 500 and 2,000, and 17% more than 2,000. Thank you, everyone, for participating in that poll. Now back to you.
Okay. Thank you so much for the answer. So it's quite a distributed spectrum of answers. So obviously it depends a bit on the size of your clinical trial. But really the cost savings is for a large extent depending on the number of shipments that you carry out. So, and they can really go up to the 7-digit figures. Yeah. So it's still a complicated calculation that you need to carry out, but to come up with these figures. But it's something that we for sure can do together with you. So funneling down to some main conclusions about this solution. And remember, we started off with the main pain being manual. A big manual painstaking exercise of stitching all these data together from the different legs in your clinical supply. So you can save up with handling and reducing administration time, reducing manual handling that's also error prone. Your whole excursion management is made a lot easier. We make that puzzle for you together with the IRTs. And you can also reduce your waste of trial products as well. Remember the example that I mentioned, that sometimes drug kits are thrown away simply because we're not sure whether the drug kit is still stable, yes or no, still okay, yes or no. In doubt, just throw it away. Well, that can be avoided with this type of solution. Patient safety, of course, first and foremost, and we can talk about money, we can talk about cost, we can talk about profit, we can talk about process efficiency, but patient safety is for sure key. But also field patient visits. There's a whole industry that lives by emergency clinical trials that is for sure not cost effective. We can reduce that as well with this type of solution. I mentioned a few times already these short notice audits, and you don't need to assign 4 people to dig into the data for, let's say, a week. You can just push a button and then off you go, really. Education is also an important factor. yes, SmartView is indeed an additional system in your clinical trial, but your front face is still the IRT system, so you don't need additional training when it comes to that. And the IRT system is just being provided with additional information. Yeah, it can be the IRT system that you've been using for the last decade. Funneling further down to really the key benefits of the SmartView clinical trial solution. Quality improvement, really get notified as soon as temperature deviations are exceeding the product stability rules. As said before, your IoT remains front face. No additional training required when it comes to using the systems. Obviously, when you go in detail in SmartView, there's a bit of training required, but not very extensive. And the main usage is still your IRT. It is an integrated solution. Again, you know your temperature profile from the beginning to the end. So when the drug is at site, you know immediately what the history has been. You know the true stability at that point. So this whole integration and the temperature loggers and the cloud solution, so SmartView working together, so digitalization really paves the way for improved efficiency, cost efficiency, increased revenues. Remember the 25 to let's say an instant decision making. You can save, you can increase your marketing time by a month. So that's revenue parts, monetary. It really helps there. But once more, as I said before, it also leads to higher patient safety. You know for sure, you know the true stability of your drug kit at the moment when you hand out the drug to your patient. Now, moving slightly to a different direction. So, as I said in the beginning, and as also what Sonja mentioned, Berlinger grew by making temperature monitoring loggers, temperature monitoring devices, and even started with paper-based temperature indicators, and made the evolution through that to electronic-based, to real-time based, and made the next step, this webinar, with software-based solutions, so with integrated view. But it doesn't end here. Obviously, there's a whole future ahead of us, and together with our customers. So then we are talking about predictive and prescriptive analytics with artificial intelligence. And I realize it's very fancy. You hear fancy words like artificial intelligence. You hear about deep learning. You hear about IoT. Everybody's talking about that. And I will not deny that also Berlinger is looking into that direction. And I'm really curious about your vision on this. So this leads to my last poll question, and it's actually the fourth poll question, not the second one, the fourth poll question. So when it comes to predictive and prescriptive analytics, what are you looking for? A, is that better prediction of logistics performance and related drug kit stability? B, is that better or faster prescription of what to do with a drug kit when stability issues have occurred? C, better indication of what to optimize in the future? Or D, I do not believe in predictive and prescriptive analytics. Obviously, that can also happen. So, Sonja.
Yes, sir.
Back to
I
you.
am ready. Yes, I am ready, and I have launched that poll question, the last poll question for this webinar. And just like Harold said, you have a couple options below, so please go ahead and choose. When it comes to predictive and prescriptive analytics, what are you looking for? And please select the ones that apply. And then I will be able to close the polls and share the results and send it right back to Harold. Okay, Harold, it looks like we got the majority of everyone has casted their vote, so we do appreciate that. I'll give 5 more seconds for those who have not. And then I will close the polls and share the results. Okay, so I'm now going to close the polls and share the results. So thank you everyone for participating. Okay, so here are the results for our last poll question. So we have 60% better prediction of logistics, performance, and related drug. We have 36% better, faster prescription of what to do with a drug kit, 36% better indication of what to do to optimize it in the future, and 12% I do not believe in predictive and prescriptive analytics. So thank you everyone for that. So what do you think about that, Harold?
That's very interesting. I have to say,
Mm.
I'm sitting here with a smile. It's very interesting indeed. So yeah, so minority do not believe. I see the majority does believe in it and has certain expectations of that. And um, regarding that, it's kind of all of the above, and I found that very interesting. I have to say. Obviously, we are indeed also also looking into all of these directions, and it's nice that this is confirmed actually. Yeah. So for sure, we will continue innovating as already stated, and yeah, we will dive further into artificial intelligence, predictive and prescriptive analytics. Absolutely. So expect more from us in the future. And talking about the future, as Sonia started off with, so again, we are a family-owned business, so we are here already for over 150 years. And I think our customers are really valuing us and the fact that we are here for the long term, and we're not there for, let's say, short-term profit and next year's profit. We are really thinking in generations. And I think what helps us here is really the innovation and the quality of our products, yeah, and also particularly the continuous innovation as well as the quality. So it's really both, and continuously helping our customers. So in order to support that, really Berlinger has global presence, yes, and that's really where I want to close off with. Berlinger's headquarters is in Switzerland, but we have offices, multiple offices distributed around the globe. So we have an office in the Netherlands as well. So this is really where the software development is. This is where the SmartView is being developed. We have an office in the United States, in the Boston area, and we have also an office in Asia to support the Asian market as well. So we are global and near, so to say. So this ends my webinar. It was a pleasure to present you the solution that we have. And now I'm more than happy to answer any question from you. And yeah, really, what are your questions? So I hand back over to you, Sonia.
Okay, thank you very much for that. It was a very insightful and informative webinar. Thank you so much for that. And now I would like to encourage our audience members to continue sending in their questions or comments right now using the questions window for the Q&A portion of this webinar. And I already have a couple of questions to start off with. So Harold, if you're ready, I will begin.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, so here's our first question. Can SmartView be used as standalone?
It's an interesting question. In principle, yes, SmartView can be used standalone. However, for use in clinical trials, it is really where the IRT in combination with SmartView really brings the benefit. So I would for sure absolutely push the complete solution, IRT plus SmartView. That gives you the greatest benefits. Yeah.
Okay, here's our next question. To which extent do workflows need to be adapted?
Obviously, you get more insight. Yeah, you get more data. That is quite obvious. On one hand, you don't need to stitch the data together. You don't need to make the puzzle together. It's being done for you now. To a certain extent, yes, here and there you need to adapt your workflow a little bit. But overall, I think this whole solution makes life a lot easier. That's I think key of this whole solution. Mm-hmm. That being said, we do guide you through the whole process from training to guiding you through the user acceptance test. from let's say beginning to the end. Yeah, so and that's tying back into this this one slide that I have about setting up the clinical trial, setting up the IRT as well as SmartView. We help you through that whole process.
Okay. Here's the next question from our audience. Can the system be used for direct-to-patient shipments?
That's a very interesting question, particularly in these times around with Corona. There's a lot more direct-to-patient shipments. So yeah, it's very it fits with the times, so to say. So thanks for that question. Yes, absolutely, and I think with this system you benefit only more. And the reason for that is that direct-to-patient shipments, let's say, makes the clinical supply more complex. So that makes, if you would do that puzzle manually with a more complex clinical supply, it makes it a more complex puzzle. So yes, absolutely, this solution helps with that.
Okay, perfect. Here's another question from our audience members. It is the temperature data sent from the data logger sensor to the Berlinger SmartView outside of IRT?
In principle, the data is being sent through IRT, and it is also being, yeah, in principle, it goes through the IRT, and the IRT and SmartView are strongly linked together through this API, of which I said it's not an active pharmaceutical ingredient, but it's an application programming interface. So this link really works together, and also temperature data is being pushed through that channel as well, yeah, back and forth.
Okay, here's the next question. Are there other similar systems on the markets?
I think where we are unique, and that's how I started off with, we are unique in the fact that we stick to our core competence. We are really good in doing temperature monitoring solutions, doing temperature monitoring analytics. That's what we're good at. We do not try to dilute our solution, our core competence, with trying to make an IRT as well, for example. I'm just naming something. We choose to partner up with people that are good in their part of the business and bring together more value to the customer. That's how we work, and that's how we are unique as well.
Okay, I'm just here looking at the questions that are coming in. We got a lot of them coming in here. Here's the next one.
Okay.
Which IRT systems does SmartView work with, or is SmartView also an IRT?
No, SmartView is not an IRT, for sure not. No, SmartView is working together with an IRT to complete that puzzle. Yeah. So the IRT typically knows where, during which clinical supply leg, where the drug it is, yeah, and sends off the data, the temperature data, to SmartView, and then SmartView knows to which data sets to link together, so to say. So SmartView is not an IRT, yeah, and as said, we work with a number of IRTs out there.
Okay, thank you. Here's the next question. Can SmartView track drug kit temperatures during clinical site storage, non-shipment excursions?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that question?
Not a problem. The question is, can SmartView track drug kit temperatures during clinical site storage, non-shipment excursions?
Yes, it can, yes.
Okay, I'm just checking to see if we have any more questions coming in. And I think, yep, I think that's it. I think it's all the questions that have come in from our audience members. So thank you very much. Yeah. So, well, I'd like to thank, did you want to make any comments about any of the questions there?
No, I think these are very interesting and very valid questions. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, well, thank you very much for those questions. We have reached the end of the question and answer portion of the webinar. If we could not attend to your questions, the team at Berlinger and Company may follow up with you after this presentation. If you have any further questions, direct them to the email address that's on your screen, and you see it right there. Okay, so thank you everyone for participating in today's webinar. You will be receiving a follow-up email with from X-Talks with access to the recorded archive for this event. A survey window will be popping up on your screen. Your participation is appreciated as it will help us to improve on our further webinars. Now, I'm about to send you a link in your chat box. You'll be able to view the recording of this event at that link and also share this link with your colleagues when they register for the recording as well. So I encourage you to do that. Now, please join us in thanking our speaker, Harold Van Weeren, Segment Manager, Clinical Trials, Berlinger and Company AG, for that very insightful presentation. We hope you found this webinar informative. It has been my pleasure to be your webinar moderator. On behalf of the team here at X-Talks, we thank you for joining us. I'm Sonia Hunt. Until next time, take care and bye for now.